Okay, we're going to do a brief overview of the lymphatic system, which if we look at this image, it does have a lot of, at least visual similarities to the general circulatory system of our body. And it does work in close proximity with our circulatory system as well as our immune system. So moving on, so the lymphatic system, recovering lost fluid. So what is this kind of referring to? Well, the cardiovascular system is actually very leaky. The process of moving blood and going through capillaries actually creates some loss of some fluid. So the goal of the lymphatic system is to collect and recycle leaked fluid. The body uses a secondary circulatory system called the lymphatic system. So we can think of the reason why it looks so similar to the circulatory system, and as we can see with our capillaries here, it's in very close proximity to that circulatory system as a way to kind of recycle and collect leaked fluid. There's three main functions of the lymphatic system, and here's one of them. This is returns proteins to circulation. So while we're moving things through our capillaries and things are diffusing across, we want to make sure returning proteins are not lost outside the circulatory system. We want to bring them back in. Because if proteins are not returned to the blood, we have a condition here, and this is kind of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and extreme stage 4 here, called edema. And this is body swelling will ultimately result if we have this accumulation of proteins and not returning them via the lymphatic system. Blood pressure forces fluid out of the capillary. So why does this occur? Well, most of the interstitial fluid returns by osmosis. However, excessive fluid is drained into the lymphatic system capillaries. In the lymphatic system, this fluid is called lymph. So the lymph nodes, the lymphatic system, transport lymph. And the vessels here contain a series of one-way valves, and they permit movement only in one direction. Now here's kind of our arteries and our veins and our interstitial space. We can see things moving out, things moving in. This shows the actual change in pressure gradient at the capillary level. The numbers represent the pressure of the vesicles in millimeters of mercury, mm of Hg. So that's what the unit is for these numbers. And the arrows in the diagram show the magnitude and the direction of the net movement. And you can take a look at that and clearly see our artery pressure is 37 mm of mercury, and the venule here is 17 millimeters of mercury. Going on to the second function here, the lymphatic system transports fats absorbed from the intestines. Well, lymph capillaries, as we hear typically in the green color here, are called lacteals. This absorbs fats from the small intestine. If you remember back, you might remember that our intestines have very high surface area. They do this with our villi, and this is increasing the surface here for nutrient exchange, particularly for the intestine's nutrient absorption. And we see here our lymphatic system is working in close proximity there, absorbing fats from the small intestine. Number 3, our last function of the lymphatic system that we're going to focus on is aids in the body's defenses, which is the immune system. So lymph nodes are filled with white blood cells. 3 particular areas of importance are tonsils, be up here. They contain many T and B cells and inflame in response to an infection. The spleen, located here, contains T cells, B cells, and macrophages. And our thalamus right here in the center. It's important during fetal development in childhood, and by the time you reach puberty, the immune system is mature and the role of the thalamus is reduced. Again, not to 0, but it is reduced at that later stages in life. Now, tonsillectomy, if you may have had this, maybe wondering or a little concerned, going back for 1 second, that if tonsils contain T and B cells and is important, may inflame in response to an infection, if we had those removed, would that be a negative impact on us? Well, connecting these two with the immune system, it's reasonable to say that there is enough evidence to conclude that tonsillectomies has no clinical significant negative effect on the immune system. Provided a link to the article here. This is what infected or inflamed tonsils will look like. They have kind of those whitish spots there. Here's the representative image of a normal and our abnormal or inflamed here. This quote in this article was based on a total of summarizing 35 articles, including almost 2,000 patients. So they came to the conclusion that there's no clinical significant negative effects on the immune system if you've had your tonsils removed. This is a brief overview of the lymphatic system here. If you want to look at another video, this is a crash course video. They tie in the lymphatic system to airport screening analogy. Also goes over regulating blood volumes, maintaining blood pressure, improvement with the immune system, and is the appendix really useless? So you're welcome to check that out. In addition, hopefully you found this video helpful.